All right, welcome to the Truck Around and Find Out podcast. Good morning, y'all. Good evening, good afternoon, whichever time you're tuning in from. Welcome to TAFO. This is going to be where Keith and I get together. We discuss some of our fun topics and hot topics surrounding the trucking, safety, community, each of our lives up here in northern Colorado. We're your host. I'm Ryan Byers with Front Range Compliance Services at DOT University. We also got Keith Couch here. He's with Rush Truck Centers and Rocky Mountain Peterbilt. Keith, how you doing today?
Doing good.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. I got to tell you, I am still just absolutely loving these hats.
Well, I'm glad you like them.
They're fantastic.
They do look fantastic. They look way better than the pictures.
They do. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, so just to clarify, Ryan and I got some hats that were made by the Vector House. House is spelled Haus. Their website is thevectorhouse.com, and it's Mike Hoheisel out of Northern California. Does a great job. These are acrylic, the logos, and we can put some pictures up of them.
So before you go on, I just got to say, why are we doing business with Northern California, Keith?
Because Mike's a very good friend.
Yes.
Does very high quality work.
And you've known him, like his background is also in trucking.
Mike and I are the same age. And I met him via a phone conversation years ago. There was a couple named Judy and Greg that moved to Loveland, and my wife sold them their house.
Ah.
Well, Judy and Kelly became instant friends, started doing everything together.
Okay.
And Greg has since passed away. He got hit on his motorcycle, unfortunately, by a pickup. Fantastic guy. That was very, very sad. Shortly after they moved to California, and Mike lives in that same area, and his wife. And so Judy and Mike Judy and Greg never had any kids, so that Mike was kind of like their son.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's kind of how we got together. And then Mike actually wound up moving to Colorado and was a sales manager for a competitor in Denver.
Okay.
But we became very good friends as well.
Friendly competitive.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
nothing wrong with that.
Fantastic guy. We actually tried to get him over to Rush, but there was a pretty good non-compete. But he wound up going back to California, doing some different things and everything. And this is what he's doing right now is the Vector House, thevectorhouse.com,
Yes.
and House is Haus. Does great work, does a lot of laser stuff. These are acrylic and laser. He lasers the acrylic. I'm not a technical guy on this stuff. He could tell you way more than I could.
Yeah, it looks like a little badge on the hat.
Mm-hmm.
I think it
great.
Absolutely looks phenomenal. Did he do your Rocky Mountain Peterbilt ones
Yes.
for you also?
He did those as well.
That was kind of how we found out his little product and what he was doing. And yeah, and I've got one of your Pete hats, and I just absolutely love that. And I think he also did that really fancy one that you brought me as a gift, the 250.
Oh yeah,
I think that was from him.
Yeah.
And I think he's selling those. Or
He is selling those.
And I've got that one set on the top in my closet on my hat rack. I'm actually terrified to wear it. It's so pretty.
I've worn mine once.
It's so pretty.
It's gorgeous.
So just to describe it, and I'll get a picture of it so we can put it on X. The badge is centered and it takes up, not the whole front. It's just the right dimensions, but the logo, the 250 year anniversary, it just is a beautiful hat. And, I think, if anything, he should be able to, especially this year, should be able to sell a boatload of those hats, literally. He does a great job.
We're in an industry where everybody wears hats and everybody's got hats and everybody wants hats and gives away hats and everything. So if any of you guys, want somebody that can supply high quality, really good looking merchandise, get a hold of Mike at thevectorhouse.com.
Yeah. And we did these, they're the Richardson 112s, is that right? Yeah, just the typical mesh bag, kind of trucker style hat. But, we did those for our last Front Range Compliance and just really had good luck with that kind. So
yeah, and he does mugs like the Yeti mugs. And he does all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, he does good work. So definitely a great spot. Good place to get a hat. So yeah, you have to tell him we gave him some shout outs. Sure, if he's not tuning in.
Great
Hopefully
work.
we can get him there. So Well, perfect, fantastic. Well, Keith, I wanted to talk a little bit about in the trucking side of stuff today. I was kind of hoping we could talk about the safety ratings. Companies that are operating out there with their DOT numbers. I think the last episode we talked about some violations and things like that. And essentially, what happens is kind of continue this conversation is they get a number of violations, and then depending on where their safety scores are within CSA, they can end up getting an audit. The feds do audits in different ways. They do a focused review where they can come in and focus on the specific topic, or they can do what's called a full-blown comprehensive, where it's going to result in a safety rating. And you got three choices when it comes to safety rating. That's going to be that it's either satisfactory, conditional, or unsatisfactory. If they do a focused review, you can end up with a conditional or unsatisfactory, but if you actually come out and you do good in the safety audit, it comes out as non-ratable, which non-ratable means that you went through a review, it was non-ratable, which sounds weird, but it essentially means you passed the audit. So go figure how that works. But what has happens through the years and working with clients, we occasionally stumble across a client that's got a conditional rating. So, if you have an unsatisfactory rating, the feds are not going to let you to remain operational in interstate commerce. So essentially, if you go through an audit and you end up unsatisfactory, you've got a 60-day timeline that you have to at least get that safety rating improved and accepted up to a minimal of conditional safety rating, but a goal is going to be satisfactory. And so what brought this topic up is I'm working with a newer client, getting ready to head up to their office up in western Wyoming, and you know who I'm talking about there. And just from talking with them, they have had a conditional safety rating, and they've had this safety rating for years. I think they got it in 2010. And that is a long time ago. So they've been dealing with this thing, for 15, 16 years, and just never really knew how to fix it. And it's really not that uncommon. We see that a lot of times where the company gets that conditional rating, and then it's just stuck. That's their DOT profile forever. The problem is they're paying for it. If it's they pay for it in contracts, because there's a lot of times when you go to put a bid in on a job and stuff like that, when they're comparing you to the other bids and they pull your DOT scores and they see your conditional, well, they're not going to award that contract to you, so that you lose a lot of business that way. The second part that it really impacts is your insurance. It's just the first thing that they look at. They see that conditional. Well, you're naturally going to pay higher rates and everything else. So I was talking with this particular company, great company, really good people, and he just straight up said, we don't know what to do. We've tried to fix it. And I assured him, I'm like, oh, we know how to fix it. We can get it fixed. So we're kind of starting at, since I've never done anything, really with their program, we're starting, at level 0, and that's going to be, let's at least look at it, see where your program's at. So I'm heading up there to do a kind of an internal audit and just see where they're at, make sure their program is in fact in the place that it is. Because what we essentially have to do is we essentially have to take that audit and kind of put all the proof into paper, and we got to send it to them. So sometimes, it's like thousands of pages that we have to send to the feds. So it is kind of a big undertaking. But once we put that all together, we send them their proof. Then we wait on the feds. Then they'll review it. They'll see the proof. If there's anything else they want, they'll ask for it. We update that and we get it to them, and then they'll grant us usually our request for upgrade. So we have a really, really good success rate with this in getting that rating, moved out of conditional, or if it was a focused review, changing it from a conditional rating to an unrated review. So, I think the point of what I'm really trying to get to here is, if you look at your safety score and you're seeing that at the bottom that it says that you're conditional, then there is a solution, and you can fix that. You don't need to just remain as conditional. But with that, there is that other caveat. If you're an intrastate operation, so you just stay within your state, then you are at the mercy to whatever your state rules. So federally, they wrote it into Part 385, the steps that you have to go through to get that upgrade. But for states, it depends on what the state adopts. So like here in Colorado, they've been trying to kind of improve it to where we can send it in. And I approached them a couple years ago and just said, because they always said, well, they just have to go through another compliance review. The problem is you could never get them to book another compliance review to come out and do a whole new audit to see where it was at, to get them to change that. So once they started recognizing that they needed to make their changes, they started saying, well, we'll allow you to send some stuff in. So we've done just a couple with the state. They're pretty easy to work with, but that's Colorado, where I know people and I know them, so it's a little easier to work with. Some of the other intra-states, that just is going to just depend. But if you are an interstate company, this is something that you can fix. So definitely, take a look at that. Now, do you know how to check the reviews, Keith?
I do
how
not.
to see that? So I've mentioned it before, but there's this website that's public access and anybody can see. It's called Safer, and you can get to that.
Safer.
If you get to if you just go to Google, you can type in FMCSA Safer. You can and it'll pop up. But if you go to Safer, which I believe it is, it used to be safer.dot, but now I believe it is fmcsa.safer.gov. I think I'm saying that in the right order. It might be safer.fmcsa. Maybe I should have checked my link before I said this. But again, if you search FMCSA, type in Safer into your Google search, it's going to pop up. But you click on that and you go about a little over halfway down. There's a middle column you can click on. It says Company Snapshot. Just click on Company Snapshot, and that'll bring you up a search option. When you search for that, all you got to type in is either the company name or the US DOT number, and that's going to pull up what's the public view of their MCS 150. So you can see the company, you can see their phone number for contact that the FMCSA uses, you can see their DOT number. There's some basic, you can see the type of inspections that they've been through, what their out of service rate is. But when you scroll all the way to the bottom, if they do have a compliance review history where they've been through a safety investigation, you're going to see the outcome. So it'll tell you the date and the safety rating. And that's where you're going to see that it says that they're either satisfactory, conditional, unsatisfactory, or if they're non-rated. Or it might even say there's no safety rating, which means they've probably never been through a review. So kind of check those and look at that. It's one of those things that if you're dealing with a conditional rating, you're going to want to get on top of that. Don't just let it sit there forever, because this one, we're coming into it. Nobody even remembers what the original violations were that put them there. So I was like, the part of it is when you do the review, Keith, all you got to do is answer to the things that was critical or acute. You don't have to answer to the whole program. You just got to do critical or acute. The problem is when it's been 15 years ago, what was the critical or acute? And if I actually look at their program now, I got to make sure that we're not going to have other things that are going to pop up, because we are dealing with that with another one, which I'm going to use for my truck around and find out topic to send this one to the finalized mode. But it's a struggle. So jump on it, check your safety ratings, and see if you can get on top of those different ratings. But anyways, no need to struggle with it.
No.
So that kind of thing. But so just to kind of give you a little kind of story, we've got one that is active that we're working on, and we've been working on it for so long. I kind of totally forgot about it, and I got a phone call last week from Nicole. The feds were wanting some more documents. Well, we submitted this thing to the FMCSA in Nebraska a year ago. it's been a year. It's been sitting on their desk just waiting for a response. Like I said, we almost plumb forgot about it, and all of a sudden they're calling. Well, they want to update. Well, he's looking at the hours of service, and he says, well, we're doing hours of service, but the records you submitted are out of date. And we're like, well, time out. We submitted them to you a year ago. You guys these are usually reviewed within 60 days, and a year later. So then he wanted new hours of service records. So we're like, oh, well, okay. So we submitted new hours of service records. Well, of course, they found some problems with them. So then he called us back and he wanted more hours of service records. And this is one of those ones that also was a conditional safety rating over a very long period of time. So we're kind of at, level one. We had to start all over and submit it. And now it's kind of turned into where I kind of feel like they've opened up an actual safety investigation. I feel like they're actually doing a focus on hours of service now, because they're like, oh, well, we feel like you're falsifying your hours. And it's like, oh my goodness gracious. So the part of this whole thing is making sure that everything is 100% squared away, which we did when we submitted that. And then the follow-up a year later kind of blindsided us. So we have a little bit of a learning step there too, that it was like, hey, it is what it is. But again, I can't change their hours of service records. This is the company's obligation to make sure you're running legal. And their falsification is, of course, using that wonderful PC time. We discovered that one of their drivers has apparently decided that, oh, well, I can use PC if I run out of hours when I'm getting to my final trip, my final location, and I can just switch to PC and drive around or finish my drive to that location. And it's like, oh my Lord, you can't do that PC time. So anyway, so that's what's going on. So definitely want to see these guys get on top of those safety ratings, save them at least some money with insurance. I think our friend Eric would definitely appreciate that, who we had on a while back with us. So, working with our little programs. But anyways, that's what I wanted to bring up today. But yeah,
Good.
so
no, that's interesting. It's to what kind of you say is that's an area that I know nothing about.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of that, I think while we were talking about this, getting ready to do this recording, you were telling me that you're selling auto cars now?
Yeah, I guess I can use that as my TAFO. Rush Truck Centers. Now, it's not all Rush Truck Centers. I think it's 6 or 8. We are selling auto car tractors now.
I gotcha.
I'm not sure if it's the full product line of auto car. Because all I've seen so far is what they call terminal tractors, or what I call yard dogs, yard mules, yard donkeys, just for moving trailers around.
Okay.
And I just did sell one.
Gotcha.
Local guy here. And so we have single rear axle and tandem rear axle, both. But so far, Autocar, the national rep that I've had to deal with, has been great to work with. I don't know much about them, but I'm in the process of learning.
So as a yard tractor, I'm thinking of like a Hostler that, it's got the little single cab.
Yep.
And it kind of moves around. It's got that fifth wheel that's got its own hydraulic, so you can quickly snag and move trailers. Yep. Is that kind of how this truck is going to be set up? Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got an auto car coming out, and you said, when you were telling me about this, you said something very interesting that, since you don't have the knowledge in auto cars, that you're going to be bringing a rep out to actually introduce this truck and kind of help them make sure that this client is set up and knows what they're getting into.
Guy's name is Juan. I'm not sure if he wants me to use his last name or not, but Juan said he'd be happy to come out, help me deliver it, go over it from bumper to bumper, go over every single switch, every single lever, everything on the truck. And I said that would be most helpful. And obviously that'll help me in the future.
Sure.
But it would be very good for this customer. And the customer.
I do.
I think he would very much appreciate that.
I think, wow, I mean, you want to talk about customer service. I mean, we're purchasing one truck and we're going to get a rep come out and give some demos and some explanations. And I'm assuming that, with the yard hostler, especially with all the bells and whistles they probably come with today, it's probably in everybody's best interest and for ease of equipment and just making sure we're not doing stuff and tearing stuff up.
I spent a lot of time in one years ago in the early 90s. I worked at Merritt Trailers.
Okay.
Down
I've
in Denver.
been down there a lot.
And as a sales assistant.
Okay.
And so I would organize the trailers. I'd get them acid washed, the cattle trailers, and then get them lined up. And I'd have them all lined up there nice and run. So I used their yard dog to move stuff around. So I am familiar with them. I have spent many hours in one.
Okay.
So
that's probably one way to really get good at backing trailers, moving them around the yard a lot like that.
I used to back my boat. You remember the boat I had?
Yeah.
I used to back it in my garage, and I had to kind of go around that corner and back it in. And I didn't want anybody telling me what to do. Just get away. Let me go do my thing. And Cade's standing there one day, and I put it right in and put it nice and over so you could still get into the fridges and stuff like that in the garage. And Cade says, "You're a good backer-upper."
Yeah, good backer-upper.
Good backer-upper.
Oh, boy, yeah. There's lots of
that's
experience.
from years of
course,
backing up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I just personally, as far as the sales, and we were kind of talking about, truck sales now, and we're kind of seeing, due to the outcomes of the world and things that are going on, that we're seeing some pretty high fuel prices, and still hoping, that things will turn around. But, it's one thing just talking about customer service, and, I still credit you for, the help that you gave me getting my business started.
Sure.
And when we got started, you used to call me up and say, "You need another client?" And just kept sending people my way. And I'm forever grateful for that, Keith. But, there's one thing I think that you really impressed upon me the most was just the service, offer the service, offer the help, offer solutions, and the clients will come. And some of the best advice I think that you ever gave me, but I think just amongst and knowing your personality, working with your clients, that you're there for them. I mean, you're not just there to get the sale. You got a remarkable professional attitude, and you work with these people, and people will be lucky to get to work with you. So
thank you.
I personally, love to see old Rocky Mountain Peterbilt, shoot for the stars, but hopefully we start moving some trucks.
I always thought I could sell trucks till I figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Still working on that. But I have learned that, and the odd thing is what I do, nothing of what I do I learned in college.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I'm not knocking my college degree. It's just I've had to learn all this on my own, and especially customer relations and networking, especially networking. They don't teach you any of that in college.
No, I think really all college does is it tells people in a specific market that you committed yourself for 4 or 5 years, and you showed up every day and did all your homework, and you're capable of working. I mean, I can't honestly tell you. I'm sure that there are some degrees. A good friend of mine, his daughter's graduating law school here in the next little bit, and she's going to be a lawyer. She's a seasoned arguer. You just get together. She wants to argue everything. Sure. So
perfect.
I'm assuming that she learned something. But I think the most of these degrees, you see what people are coming out with, and I think you'll find, I got tons of people that I grew up with and I've known through the years that they all say the same thing. It was like, I went to college, I got that degree, and no, I don't use any of it for anything. So,
well, on the attorney part, I got called for jury duty here a couple of years ago, and it was here in Larimer County. And I'm sorry, but the prosecutors were not prepared.
Oh,
not in the least.
Oh,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, I could not. And it's like, I'm not an attorney, and I could do a better job than this.
Yeah.
So we're in the jury room and everything, and I had to tell some of these younger people, I said, let me tell you something. Just because they're an attorney doesn't mean they're right.
Right. Yeah.
So I said, remember that.
Agreed. And, some of the deputy DAs, I remember the very last DUI trial that I had was one that it was like 2 years after the arrest. I had already left the Delta area as a trooper. I was in motor carrier safety, and we went into this DUI trial, and I lost it. And I should not have. It was a career alcoholic, a guy that all he did was drink and drive, and I was literally on the stand, defense attorney. Kudos to them. He did a good job, but he was introducing Google searches as evidence into the court. And I remember looking at my DA, and he's just sitting there, not a single objection, not anything. And I mean, I'm on the stand saying, Well, I don't believe that, anything you search for on Google is necessarily, rock solid scientific evidence. And I mean, I'm looking at my district
on the
attorney,
internet.
and he's just looking at me. Didn't get an objection, didn't get nothing. But I mean, all they got to do is cast a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
And I was like, and I'm not saying I didn't make my own mistakes in that. I mean, it was 2 years later, but I mean, I couldn't even get them to meet with me to kind of prep for the trial or anything like that. So it was like I showed up the day of the trial. We met for 10 minutes before it started, and I was like, well, this is gonna suck. Like, it was.
What do they say? It's 99% of attorneys give the other 1% a bad name.
Yeah. So, but that just kind of went down the way it did. But yeah, I would agree with you. These college degrees and they push them on. For so long it was like everybody's got to get a college degree.
And it's not the case anymore.
If everybody gets a college degree, well, it kind of devalues because everybody's got the degree.
Yeah.
And what are they truly studying? And it seems like, if anything, to me personally, it kind of becomes indoctrination. Like, we're just trying to put a certain thought process in everybody's brain to control the world. And unfortunately,
I had a friend's sister graduate from CU, and it was in environmental studies. And so stupid me, I said, so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to make money? And to this day, I think she's still waitressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is nothing wrong with waitressing.
Not at all.
They make good money. A good waitress, a good bartender can make good money.
But it's also a lot of work.
It is. It's a ton of work.
To those servers and the work that they do, that is a lot of work. And
I've done that.
I'm not knocking the college degrees. Our school teachers, gosh, thank you for what you do. Of course, that's just like the lawyers. You got your good ones and you got your bad ones out there, and
most
that kind of thing. But
most
that's every
teachers
profession.
are excellent. And don't get paid enough.
Oh, absolutely.
My mom was a teacher, so
were my folks. So 100%. And but so like I said, those are college degrees that you have to get to utilize it. Yeah. But when you go in and you come out with those other types of degrees, it's like, okay, what are we going to do?
Basket weaving.
I think I really love seeing getting back to this work of the trades right now. When I saw what Thornton School District is offering, we were at that CMCA meeting a month ago, and they came out and were giving us a presentation on their trades, and they've got a diesel mechanic school, and
that's awesome.
Kids are coming out with a full-blown certification. They start it when they're sophomores. By the time they graduate, and what you see for the athletes that are getting scholarships, or they always did a signing ceremony, and somebody from the school or a coach would come, and then they do that big ceremony to commemorate the fact that they got their degree or their scholarship. Well, they're doing the same thing with these kids that are getting a job out of high school. So the employer is coming in, and they all are doing a signing ceremony. They get to meet with the employer. They sign their contract, and they're leaving high school with a job that they're getting started for. Not just a job. I should reflect on that and change how I said that. They're leaving high school with a career path. A career path. Yeah. And, we've all worked jobs. And there's the one thing about that job is sometimes you get lucky and you actually like what you do, but half the time people get a job and they're still looking for the next opportunity. Yeah. You get that career, you're set. You're working toward that goal in life. And I think the trades is fantastic because you learn your specific skill set. You're going to go work it. And 9 times out of 10, I think we find that some of these folks that go down this trade path are generally making a little bit more money than people, and they're not paying debt. They're not paying that astronomical debt. So salute to the trade schools and these programs for that kind of thing. But anyways, well, cool. You got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you to the Victor House for them beautiful hats. We do appreciate that. And thank you to the trucking community for keeping America moving forward. Be safe out there. Keep our shiny side up, and we'll catch you on the next podcast.
God bless you guys.